Hey, what's up? So this is another tutorial in which we're gonna be looking at the Vortex Force module in Unreal Engine 5. So we have a pretty basic animation here that we created in our previous lessons. It's just some sprite particles with velocity, kernel noise force, and a color module. If you don't get it, you can watch the whole video. I'll leave the link to the video in the description. Let's open the Niagara system. And these are all the modules we used. Now let's increase the spawn rate to something like 15. And maybe decrease the sprite size to 2 or maybe 5 and 10. Going back to our level, we can see the animation. And let's change the velocity to something like 1 or 2. Now the particles seem more lively. Now let's add our module, Vortex Force. And disable the velocity and kernel noise force to see what this module is doing. So we can see that it is pushing the particles away from the center, and the particles are moving in a vortex. Let's increase the spawn rate of the particles to something like 70. And going back to a level, we can see that this is the animation we have. Oh, sorry. Now let's see what the vortex force amount does. Okay, let's give it a value of something like 700. Now we can see that the particles are being pushed further away and still moving in a vortex. Nice. Now we can look at the origin pull amount here. So what this does is pull the particles back to the center so they don't get pushed further away. Let's decrease the vortex force amount, and if we increase the origin pull amount, we can see that the particles are being pulled in the center and they bounce back out. So we have a interesting animation. Maybe give it something like 350 and give it the vortex force amount a value of 300. And this is what we have. We can try 115 the spawn rate. Or maybe 50. Let's enable the velocity now. And maybe increase its value to something like 5. Maybe we can try something like 500 in the spawn rate. that looks too much, so maybe just change it back to 50. Okay, so before we move on, we can look at shape primitive in the shape location. That would be useful in the particle simulation. So if we click this drop down, we can see a bunch of shapes here. So the sphere shape means that the particles are spawning in a sphere boundary and they spawn making a sphere shape. So let's disable the velocity and vortex force for now to see what this is doing. And also let's increase the spawn rate to have a better look. Maybe 700 or maybe 7,000. It's just to see the particles spawning the sphere. Now we can clearly see that the particles are being spawned in a sphere boundary. Now, if we change the shape primitive to a cylinder, we can see that the particles are being spawned in a cylinder boundary. Also, it gives you a bunch of options like cylinder height and cylinder radius. You can use these to alter the size of the cylinder. We also have the rotation mode and scale mode here with X, Y, and Z axis in both of the options to have more flexibility. So right now I'm just telling you about this option so it'd make it easier for you to utilize them in your VFX. Okay, now let's change the shape primitive to a box/plane. And I'm just going to disable the color module so we have our default color back. Also, the glow looks a bit too much, so let's change it to something like 2. Also, I'm gonna lower the value of the spawn rate to something like 1000. Next up, maybe change the sprite size to uniform. Nice. Now I'm just gonna change the shape primitive to a torus. We also have different options here like a large radius and handle radius. You can check them out. Also, we have ring/disk. I think we have less flexibility in this option as there's only one radius option. Next up, we have cone, which makes the particle spawn in a cone boundary. Nice, but I think I will stick to the torus because I think that it'll look better for the type of VFX we are creating. Let's change the sprite size to random uniform. Now, if we enable the vortex force, we can see that we have a cool animation. Also, enabling the velocity, we can see that we have a vortex type effect. And also enabling the color module, we have this cool look. Nice. So that's it for this lesson. See you in the next one.